This is a regular board meeting, a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Schedule of regular meetings of the Board of Education was adopted at the reorganization meeting in January 26. Schedule and notice of said meetings has been posted. And all the foregoing has been done within the time required by law. Thank you. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Roll call for attendance.
Mrs. Dunham?
Oh.
Here. Mr. Deasy?
Here.
Mr. DeMarco?
Here.
Mr. Genther?
Here.
Mrs. Love? Here. Mrs. Marmion? Here. Mr. Tapey?
Here. All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, no executive session tonight, so we're going to move on to item 3, our presentations for the evening, and we're going to kick it off with our Hawk Heroes and Mrs. Bolden.
Good evening, everyone. We are here tonight to recognize our March Hawk Heroes, and our March Hawk Heroes were chosen because they are our most empathetic students. We have one from each grade level here tonight that we're going to recognize. This is the official part of it, so you'll get your official certificate tonight, but the fun part comes later when we get our pizza party and our t-shirts, so stay tuned. So let's start by calling up our kindergarten Hawk Hero. And first of all, let's define what empathy means at Oaklyn School. We forgot to do that. So at OPS, we do define empathy as the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Empathetic students actively listen, avoid judgment, show compassion, and recognize the feelings and perspectives of others. So come on up, Josephine Force. Joey. Come on over here, Joey. Come on over. I'm going to let you hold this. Congratulations. And stop all the way over. We're going to line you up.
I know Liz is not here.
Yep, we're going to do the line. We're starting. Youngest to oldest will go. Okay, so Joey, this is what Joey's teacher wrote about her. Joey displays a genuine care and understanding for her classmates' feelings. Her actions show true empathy when she notices a friend who is struggling, upset, or may feel left out. She offers compassion, encouragement, kind words, or strategies to help them through their difficulties. Joey's compassion shines through at school each day. We are so fortunate to have Joey in our classroom. She truly makes it a better place. Mrs. Southard. And you can stay right there. Next up, Krista Jarrell. Come on up, Krista. My purple. Come on over here, Krista. Come on over. We're going to go kindergarten all the way through 5th. Krista, this is what your teacher wrote about you. Krista is a first grader with a heart as big as her smile. She notices when someone in our class feels sad, even if they try to hide it. On multiple occasions, Krista has quietly offered a friend help when they needed it. During recess, she makes sure no one is left out of games, invites classmates to join, and cheers them on. Krista's empathy shows in small actions every day, making our classroom a kinder and happier place. Mrs. G. Good job. And our second grader, Nadia Valansky. Nadia is incredibly caring, kind, and empathetic. She takes the time to get to know her classmates and always shows genuine interest when her friends are talking to her or telling her a story. She always tells her classmates that they are doing a great job. If a friend is having a hard time, Nadia is always the first person to offer a helping hand or lend a listening ear. She has worked very hard to show true empathy towards others, and she sets a great example for the rest of the class. Mrs. McMenamin. Our third grade Hawk Hero, Finley Worcester. Come on up, Finley. Finley is an incredibly empathetic third grader who always thinks about how others are feeling. She notices when a classmate is having a hard day and is quick to offer a kind word, a helping hand, or an invitation to join her. Finley listens carefully, shows genuine care, and treats everyone with kindness and respect. Her compassion for others makes our classroom a warmer and more welcoming place for everyone. Miss Magro. Our fourth grade Hawk hero, Spencer Lockman. Spencer cares deeply about others. She cares about the people she meets and her friends. She often shows empathy by listening carefully and showing kindness when her friends need someone. Spencer will also share her own experiences and thoughts to help her friends feel that they are not alone and that she truly understands and has compassion for them. Mrs. Cummins. And last but not least, our fifth grade Hawk hero, come on up, Carson Platowski. Yep, you're at the head of the class. How about that? Only took 6 years. Carson demonstrates outstanding empathy and kindness towards others. He gets along with his classmates and often steps in as a peacemaker, helping to resolve conflicts with patience and understanding. He is also the first to congratulate people when they are up and offer help when they are feeling down. Through his positive attitude and caring actions, he serves as an excellent role model for his peers every day. Mrs. Hart. Okay, congratulations, Hawk Heroes. One big round of applause for our Hawk Heroes of March, our empathetic students. And that's a wrap. You guys did it. You got your fame. Head on off for some pictures. I'm sure your families want some. Guys,
Now we're famous.
wait a second, guys. Flip this way and let... Hold on. Let's see. We're going to move you guys down. Carson, can you slide down a tiny bit? Just towards the... and we're gonna, oh, nope, not behind the table. We'll get you. Slide down a little bit. Little bit. Come on over. We're getting you over.
Good job, everybody.
We'll get a picture with Nadia outside of it. We'll get right out here.
Set you guys back up. Where does this go? That way. That way. Hey!
And then we were alone.
Yes, we are not as important as our heroes.
We're going to have the budget highlights come up next. Before we do, though, I wanted to go into committee of the whole so that we can have it, if anybody has questions or comments for the budget.
discuss.
Yeah, we can just discuss it freely. So do we have a motion to go into committee of the whole?
So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. And we will turn it over to Dr. McDowell.
right shot of the screen. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for those that are tuning in online and those who will tune in later after the meeting who were unable to be here and unable to see this live. So thank you so much. 26-27 school year, addressing our financial challenge. And so in our preliminary budget, what you will hear this evening is the projected revenues, the district priorities, the projected expenses, and then ultimately what is contained within the budget to be submitted to the state for state review, and then ultimately timeline for final approval, which would not happen until the end of April. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Our budget, as with each year, is directly aligned with the vision and mission of our district. We're low tech this evening. It is also aligned with the core values, and so the core values in our district are guiding principles that help to prioritize our policies, our practices, and our overall culture within our school. Student success is at the forefront of everything that we do. Equity and inclusion, making sure that young people get what they need and that all students feel like there's a place for them and that there's a place where they belong. And then ultimately, we are a team, but we're also a family. And these are the core values that drive our work. Okay, this is gonna. Our school district priorities. We believe that if we are making meaningful progress, stay the course. And so from an administrative perspective, improving the alignment of our administrative team, actively engage our community to make sure that we're addressing our infrastructure, continue to identify additional opportunities for adequate school funding, actively pursue additional revenue streams in order to supplement student learning activities, and then ultimately, and really importantly, is to commit to supporting and retaining our dedicated faculty and staff. In the area of curriculum and instruction, to be able to begin implementation of our English language arts program. This past year, we had multiple teachers pilot different types of curriculum and weigh in and evaluate what will meet the needs of our students here in Oaklyn. And our goal will be to begin implementation of a new ELA program for the 26-27 school year. Expand our usage and utilization of our universal screeners. And so these are nationally normed assessments that help us evaluate, are we moving in the right direction? Are students making appropriate growth in both English language arts and math? And where do we fall within a national performance level of are our students making sufficient growth? Continued focus on data-driven instruction aligned with our school-wide goals. And then ultimately making sure that we are operating consistently at the grade level as well as at the student level. And then continued access of high-quality early childhood education for the families in Oaklyn. In order to understand the fiscal environment, it would probably take a few years. We are currently operating in an extremely challenging time as it relates to public education. The easiest two words to describe that is chaos and uncertainty. Persistent inflation, rising operational costs that are unsustainable, local budget gaps due to the impact of rising operational costs and inflation, that is causing an undue burden on local towns and communities. The continued mental health crisis. Students need more support than what has historically been provided, and those supports are rising in costs. Unfunded state mandates. The state continues to provide list after list of additional things that we must do with no dollars attached to it, and local communities are having to absorb more and more with little relief. The elimination of federal programs and services, as well as other opportunities for federal funding, and then ultimately growing teacher shortages in specialty areas. And so when we think about those rising costs, just so that we are painting the appropriate picture for our conversation this evening, personnel over the last 5 years has increased by 23%. And that is just to maintain what we have. That is not adding new positions, that is maintaining our current staff. Health benefits for the 26-27 school year alone increased by 20%. That has doubled over the last 5 years. Tuition, we are projecting it to be relatively flat, but over the last 5 years that has also increased by 22%. Shared services for the 26-27 school year, we are projecting an increase of 5.25%, which includes preschool. Utilities, we're expecting or anticipating pre-Middle Eastern conflict, no increase. We will need to go back and reassess whether or not there will be a direct impact on us. But over the last 5 years, our utility costs have increased by 58%. Keeping in mind that the current state law only allows for what is a maximum of a 2% increase, not to your complete budget, but a 2% increase to your local fair share, which ultimately translates to about 0.8% of an increase, despite the rising cost of inflation significantly outpacing that number. So what has been done so far to address these financial challenges? And so we are very fortunate to have very active and proactive community members and board members. There have been letter campaigns in our community. There have been policy institutes that have written technical reports. They have published documentation in order to bring attention to this. They have also presented these documents and these research studies to the state for further review, further analysis, and further advocacy. Oaklyn is part of a Camden County collective called the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective. It's a regional collective of multiple districts in the area that are all advocating and fighting for the necessary change for fair student funding and tax relief on local residents. We've had board members and community members participate in state public hearings, advocating for change and advocating for equity and fairness for their communities. And then last year, boldly, the state allowed Oaklyn to participate in a one-time tax levy incentive program where we were provided an opportunity to come closer to closing some of those gaps based on us not being adequately funded both at the state level and at the local level. And we were able to do that to offset some our challenges last year. Additional cost-saving measures is we have been actively focused on external relationship management, looking for outside funds, philanthropic support, grants, institutional support from businesses and other organizations. We are very fortunate to partner with multiple organizations in Oaklyn that help to offset some of these challenges. These are all local residents doing good work to support its school, and we are thankful for that. But we need to continue to do more by going out and finding additional partners to help support this work. We also actively participate in insurance joint ventures. This helps us to be able to provide insurance and benefits to our employees at a significantly reduced cost. You heard a slide before that our insurance costs are increasing by over 20%. The state healthcare plan is increasing 33%. Utilities, we also participate in an energy consortium to make sure that we're getting the best possible price on our energy. We're also in a cooperative purchasing group to make sure that we are not overspending on instructional supplies and classroom resources. And then we also benefit greatly from the long-standing partnership of shared services between Collingswood and Oaklyn to help reduce both districts' overall administrative costs and being able to put money back into our classrooms and within our schools. We also benefit from partnering with our borough through our public works for trash removal. And then ultimately, we believe that by offering robust programming and providing high-quality early childhood education, that will not only help to ensure that we have better prepared students, but it will also increase our enrollment because it becomes a destination place for our families to be able to bring their children. And it also reduces the likelihood of needing to send our students out for private placement because we are unable to meet their academic needs. So what is the status of our current funding sources? And so I'm going to hand that over to our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Beth Ann Coleman.
All right, we're going to start this off with our projected enrollment. We are up about 16 children, but you can see on the very first line, preschool. We applied for more children than we were given. So when we did our enrollment projections and for the preschool program, we asked for more than 72 children because we have a waiting list. I'm guessing that the need and the request for preschool and PEA, like new districts to join, there wasn't enough money. Same thing happened in Collingswood, so they actually, they reduced us for preschool, so we were able to balance the preschool budget, but the preschool budget's a little tight. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting them to. Usually if you have a waiting list and you want to add additional children, they give it to you. They did not give it to Oaklyn or Collingswood this year. Again, we're up about 16 kids overall, about 15 in your elementary school, about 8 in the middle school that you send to Collingswood, and you're down about 4 children that you send to the high school. All right, so this is an overview of your revenue. Fund balance, which in its simplest terms is basically savings, money I didn't spend last year that I am putting into next year's budget as a revenue line item. It's $412,092 or 3.73% of your total revenue. Local tax levy, and I just want to be clear, local tax levy is what we can raise, you can raise 2% by. And that's 66% of your total budget. So 66 cents on the dollar is what you can raise 2% on. Just so we're clear, it's not 2% on the total. It's not 2% on 11 million, it's 2% on 7.3. So 7,361,134. Maintenance reserve withdrawal, I'm withdrawing $100,750 at the end of each year when I'm audited. If I did generate surplus, I sit with the auditor and I tell him how much I would like to have for the budget for revenue, and then we're allowed to set aside money for things like tuition. If you have a tuition send and receive, you can have a tuition reserve, a maintenance reserve to maintain your building, and a capital reserve. So when I withdraw from maintenance reserve, it has to be used for items in the budget identified as maintenance. State aid, $2,984,004. State aid is 28%, 28.3%. Miscellaneous, that's just basically interest income and maybe some refunds, not a lot there, less than $7,000. And then rentals, the amount of money that you charge Collingswood for the fact that we have some preschool classrooms in here. And it's another example of shared services where you're generating a little money from your partnership with Collingswood. And if you learn better by looking at pictures, I know this is my husband. Here's the same information, which is in a graph. There you go. What everybody wants to know, expenditures. Instruction is 81% of your budget, or $8.9 million. Student services, a little over $1 million, but those two together come to 91%, and those are direct services to children. So I'm going to pause there. 91% of the Oaklyn budget is direct services to children, whether it's instruction in the classroom, child study, like student services are those things like child study team, nursing services, OTP, those things that are not specific, like teacher in a classroom. but it's still considered a student service. That's 91% of your budget. 6% of it's for facilities, for maintaining your building, because obviously things are going to happen, $649,166. And then administrative costs, you're at 3%, at $428,237. And again, a year-over-year comparison, this screen shows the tax levy over the last 3 years. So 24-25, you'll see $6,238,975. Last year, we did go up considerably because we did participate in the tax levy incentive aid program, so $6,880,970, and then this year, $7.3 million. Increase of $480,164. And you're going to say, Beth Ann, that's way more than 2%. Yes, it is, because of the health care adjustment. This is so when we're doing our budget, I just want to explain to everybody, there's certain categories, and it fluctuates from year to year depending on the legislature, but there's certain categories that you can exceed the 2% by. One of them is in enrollment. So if you're seeing a large increase in enrollment, it allows you to go above your 2%. It's not like the state's giving you more money for the fact that you have more children. You can increase your taxes because you have more children. In addition, same thing with health benefits. In the software that I use to develop the budget, the state, they use the state health benefits plan as the model. Not a good model, because it's a failing healthcare program at 30+%, but they allow you to go up to the percentage that the state health benefit plan is going up by to increase your budget by. So obviously we're not that bad at 33%, but 20%. So we did generate a healthcare adjustment, and that's an automatic adjustment. So the extra money is raised, go right to the healthcare line in your budget. And that equates to $320 a year on the average home in Oaklyn of $180,362, and it's just under $27 a month, $26.69 a month. Ooh, I did it again. Do you want me to keep going? I mind. Okay, so how did I balance this budget? Luckily, we did get an increase in state aid. Not sufficient enough, unfortunately, to balance our budget, as we all know, with the costs that I was just identifying. So your budget is balanced, but in this budget, it is a reduction of one teaching position, or one FTE, as we call it. Luckily, Ms. Bolden, when she presented her budget, and I tell everybody it's my favorite presentation because I get a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for what she needs in the building, and then I can choose accordingly. Unfortunately, this year I did have to go to plan C, which is not the best, but it's coming from the building principal. I'm assuming, it's not the greatest, but it's what she needs to run her building. So we're maintaining all existing programs, updates to the K-5 ELA curriculum that Dr. McDowell previously spoke of, updates to the K-5 math progress monitoring tool. We're still going to have assemblies, we're still going to have parent programs, student recognition like Hawk Hero, summer enrichment, classroom and technology updates are still in there, just not like a massive amount, but filling instructional aid positions with qualified candidates. We really haven't had too much of a swing here in Oaklyn. And limitations to inclusion opportunities. Let me see. Doesn't want to. I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question about that slide?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it says anticipated reductions for 26-27. Does that mean all those things under discretionary spending are reductions?
Yes. So what we did, the ELA curriculum is in there. What we did is included in the comprehensive budget that Mrs. Bolden submitted. She has supplies and needs and identified costs in pretty much every single one of those areas. So we trimmed down. So when she gave me her budget for all of these things, she had A, B, and C, like I said previously. So there are things in there. They've just been greatly trimmed back to fit within what we could spend.
So is the summer enrichment program happening but just reduced? Ms. Bolden saying no.
Yeah.
So there's no summer, but there are assemblies, parent programs, and student recognition? Student recognition.
Assemblies with a small line, not in the general supply line. I don't think that was cut it from.
And can anybody say more about limitations to inclusion opportunities?
Yes, and so right now, we've been going through the developmental process with the Inclusion Task Force, talking about types of models to consider. And so when there are anticipated reductions, and we're using the term anticipated because until we actually get approved by the state, we're actually putting in a request very similar to what schools did until they've gone through our budget to make sure that what we've requested is what we can actually move forward with. And so when we say limitations, the prevailing model that has been recommended in the past shifts us to moving towards a co-teaching model. That particular structure would not be feasible given this financial environment, and so we'd be looking at other opportunities for inclusion that are separate and apart from a traditional co-teaching model. And so when we say limitations, it would have to be budget neutral opportunities that move us closer towards inclusion, and so that's what we're referring to. There's multiple opportunities around inclusion, and so co-teaching is just one of multiple. And so we just wanted to note that originally we were trying to shift into being a more inclusive model, but there are going to be limitations in our ability to be able to move forward based on the budget.
So will the current collaborative teaching that's happening here still happen? Like, I think we do have some that they're shared, or no?
We don't have co-teaching right now. We have resource and we have
Push-in, okay. The goal was to move more toward that co-teaching model, but we'll keep what we had, the push-in support. Okay.
Sorry, another question. Last year's budget, there was a lot of talk about the learning acceleration teachers. Obviously, no one likes what we're seeing as the first item here, and not asking specifics, but can you say anything about the learning acceleration teacher? Is that still going to be a program?
So the details housed within this, we would go over after we've received the approval, and then we would come back with the board with recommendations to be discussed. And so we wouldn't be able to speak on that specific position at this time.
I have a few questions. The first one is for the maintenance reserve, Beth Ann. What's the remaining balance in it?
I can tell you. I will say it's getting slim. I know Collingswood, I depleted theirs last night. Yeah. Hold on. It's depleting it. But, so it will be zero, but my hope is come June, I'll have money to put back in it. We froze spending in both districts very early so that I could develop some more savings to put back in.
Okay. And do we expect, with the balance being zero, do we expect, over the next few years that there's going to be some maintenance issues that have to be addressed, that have to be put on hold?
No, I say with a question mark. So the way it works is there's a minimum amount of maintenance, I believe it's 4% of the value of your building. I have to do every year, regardless. So in the fall, I present to the board your comprehensive maintenance plan, and I have to show Trenton the last 10 years of expenses and that I've spent a minimum amount of maintenance on your building. I'm proud to say Oaklyn spends excuse me, I'm going to say this wrong. They spend much more than the state minimum. But what the maintenance reserve kind of is kind of a internal funding source to continue to fund that. I'll still budget for the maintenance. The issue is more on the revenue side, right? But again, I froze spending. I'm tracking, at this point, my office is tracking our surplus balances in both Oaklyn and Collingswood to make sure that I have enough surplus to fund the 27-28 budget, and have money left over to put in reserve.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. And again, you had a very large reserve, so we have been drawing it down. I don't like using reserves as a crutch. but I also, when we're talking about jobs, if we have it, I use it, and I cross my fingers I have money to put back into it.
Thank you. And then,
Sure.
two more. For the grants, have we applied for any grants, and would those grants, apply to the upcoming school year?
We haven't applied for any discretionary grants. The two grants that are in the budget are entitlement grants, are the ESEA, which is the Title I, and then the IDEA.
Okay. And then the last question is, could I be sent the public enrollment information from years prior to the 3 that were presented?
Yeah,
Is that
sure.
possible? Thank you.
Yeah, just send me an email, remind me, and I'll send you the ASSAs from the last however many years. You're welcome.
Since we're asking questions, could I ask a question about, we were talking about revenue and the rent that we take in, rental rates? I was just wondering, have we explored other options for bringing in more rental revenue? Do we rent at the fields, or is that the town?
It's our fields, but the town pretty much uses them 24/7.
Okay, and they don't pay for that, or?
Some groups pay, some don't.
Okay.
It's kind of, it depends. We have different categories of people who can rent our facility, but if it's for the children of the town and a school-affiliated program, then we typically don't charge.
Don't charge.
But an outside group, I would charge.
Okay, and I wasn't sure if with Garfield closing, whether there was room in this building and whether that would be an option for both keeping classroom sizes low in Collingswood and potentially getting more, rental space used here if we have room, if that's something we were going to explore. And then whether we would explore raising rates for those out-of-town usages of the building as a way to save some of these, especially things like, a STEAM camp or whatever. Just a question about that.
And all are great ideas. Garfield is still kind of fresh. I think we're still working through that on an administrative level. Meredith is here, so obviously we'll take it back and we'll talk about that.
I'm not looking for an answer tonight, just putting it
but
out
yeah,
there
that's,
as something, if it's a path we could explore.
It's been a long-term partnership, Collingswood and Oaklyn, so anything is on the table. I know we looked, initially we had vacant space. The easiest was to rent to another school, right? Just because we have the same bell schedule, we don't want strangers coming in and out and the whole sign-in and everything. So I know right now the building is pretty much used up as far as space. With our classrooms being in here, I don't think there's a lot of spare space to be rented out. But we can look at our fees though, what we do charge. It's not a lot, like that number I had up there, that was like $6,900 some dollars. Maybe a couple thousand of that. It's not a lot, because most of our groups are like, Little League and soccer and things like that, so.
I have one more question. For the healthcare plan,
Yes.
this is just an idea, and I'm not sure if it's reasonable or if it's because I saw, and I understand this is different because we're a school district, but I know some municipalities who have been experiencing rising healthcare costs, what they've been doing. I know, for example, like Jersey City, the mayor there changed the healthcare plan, and it gives the employees of the municipality the same healthcare benefits, but at a cheaper cost with a different provider. Is that something like a school district like Oaklyn could explore, like exploring other healthcare plans? Because I know we're in that fund as well.
Yeah, so we're in the Brown & Brown Employee Trust, which is like another co-op. It's kind of like the SHIF. When I marketed, it's a 2 or 3 pronged answer. When I marketed Oaklyn originally, it's such a small group, I couldn't get Oaklyn into the SHIF. I didn't want to put Oaklyn in the state employee health benefits plan. Obviously, it's where Trenton wants everybody to go, and I'm glad I didn't do that. So the Brown & Brown was at the time our only alternative. And knock on wood, they've been pretty good as far as prices. As far as what we offer and the plan offerings and the different things that might bring the cost down, all that would have to be negotiated, because there is a clause, and you're nodding. Whatever we offer our employees in the bargaining units has to be equal to or better than what they currently have. So they would have to agree to benefit changes. And that would have to be negotiated at the table.
Yeah.
So what's included in this budget is kind of a continuation of what we currently have,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously we're negotiating currently. But
Okay. Is that
again,
something-
I think going in, speaking to your point, in the future, I know when I sit on the shift meetings, they are talking some plan design specifically with regards to the GLP-1 drugs that are causing the rates to go so high, that they're looking at some plan design changes to help kind of mitigate some of these high costs. But I can imagine it's not going to go over very well with a lot of bargaining units. I think Morristown might be going through it, or somebody's going through it right now, and they're seeing how it fleshes out. But I think once we start seeing some plan designs, you'll start seeing more districts hop on.
Sounds good. So, but like, would we be able to maybe in the future, like, try to bargain with another healthcare provider than our current one? Okay.
Yeah, like if the board, if we felt that, because usually I get a report every few years to make sure that not only are we at market, but we're below market. If it looks like we're trending the other way, then I would put an RFP out on the street. But recent history, like we've been very lucky that we're actually going in the other direction. But yeah.
Okay. And then last,
Yeah, no, you always have the option to market it and kind of see what's out there, but yeah.
and then last thing, I promise this is the last thing. I don't want
No,
to
hold you
be.
to it. That's okay.
Could we possibly try to develop a plan or strategy for the next 2 to 3 years when it comes to rising healthcare costs, so we can see what it's going to look like, so we don't just get hit with it and then it's like, what do we do now?
I would love that. No, I would love that. I would like, yeah. I just got an email today from Trenton that the state health benefits plan it's not only bad, they're saying that it's probably going to be in a deficit by the end of 2026. So they're expecting in the next year another year of double digits, and probably even higher digits than they currently are now. So, yeah, we can totally think about it. I think it's a great idea. I just think we're all kind of struggling how to combat the just astronomical rising costs of healthcare. I know Trenton is combating, when the state health benefits plan came out with their announcement today. I know Trenton's going to have some work to do on that one. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
This is going to continue though, right? This discussion continues, or are we
Yeah,
finishing
no,
this up? Like, I wasn't sure if this was the end of the presentation or if there's more for the presentation. I do have a couple other questions, but they're more...
I think this is the end. Let me just see what slide is next. I think it's... Oh, just my timeline.
Yeah, so
It's got to be due by, I have to submit by Friday to the county office, so, we'll approve the preliminary budget for submission tonight. I'll submit it 2 days ahead of schedule. Public hearings on April 30th. And then usually after we have our public hearing, my budget's already built in my local budget software. I'll roll the budget, and then I call it opening it up for the administrators. They can start their summer planning. But that's kind of what's going to happen over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And then that's it.
All right, so I just wanted to say, first of all, that I think it's great that our little town is growing, that our enrollments are growing, that our kids are going to the middle school and high school and are staying there. I think that's something that we can be proud of, that we're staying true to our roots here. And, all these things that you acknowledged, I think sitting in on my own district's meetings, like, nothing is untrue in terms of the state of affairs. And I wasn't sure if we wanted to revisit that letter writing. I wasn't sure when the last time we encouraged the town to submit letters, and whether we wanted to bring that out as part of our meeting when we do our town hall, but also if we just spread it out through our next newsletter.
We met with our communications liaison this morning, and I asked for her to update all of that. And we will be sending out, we'll be asking our community to join us. It's going to take a groundswell across the state demanding change at the state level. And so in little districts like ours, we've done everything that we can do, everything we've been asked to do, and it's still not enough. And so without there being state level advocacy and law change, districts like ours are going to continue to be hit. Local communities are going to continue to be burdened. And so we're updating those materials now, and we're going to be sending out information either later this week or beginning of next, asking our community to join us in reaching out to our state legislators, letter campaigns, going to public meetings in Trenton, and holding our lawmakers accountable for actually addressing this and not allowing politics to continue to delay. Last year, they told us because it was an election, they were going to put a fork in it. This year, they're telling us, new administration, they need more time. And so every year, it's a different excuse. Our kids don't have time to wait.
And I think it's such an irony that they'll say we're overfunded, and yet every district's scrambling to just pay for the basics for their district. I know some concerns raised at the Collingswood meeting, and I think it's important to us because we send our kids there, just in terms of once decisions are made for how the budget cuts are, because they're much more significant over there, are going to impact that building. Is that information going to go out to the Oaklyn families as well? Okay, great, because I think it's going to be a significant impact. And then just, I know there was talk of, maybe looking at referendums, but which would only impact the 27-28 year, which could be something that we obviously can't, I don't know if we can do that in Oaklyn, or if it would just be something that Collingswood could do to find a way to further fund that situation, or more philanthropic options as well. So I just feel like we're going to have to, this chaos and uncertainty, desperate times call for really creative solutions, and be great if we could save some teachers and save some programs. And on that last note, just exploring option 2 possibilities for our kids, whether it's expanding our dual credit programs, which I think we do a nice job of over in Collingswood, expanding opportunities for computer science, or some of the other programs we're seeing cuts in, exploring some of I think there's a Code High School, Code HS, that has some programming, like AP classes even, that seem pretty affordable. So just to make sure that our students that we send to Collingswood are still going to have that opportunity for creative programming.
And just to follow up, today there was a meeting for our funding collective that I sat in on. There was a lot of discussion because suburban towns are now getting overtaxed, and we're trying to come up with talking points to bring to the lawmakers, obviously. And we were, as a group, even kind of circling, because everything comes back to the easiest thing is just tax, if we're allowed to, but then you're taxing people out of their homes. But and I said this last night, we have an expenditure problem right now in the state of New Jersey. Their costs are just astronomical, and the way kind of like a snowball goes downhill, everything rolls on top of the school district, right? Trenton pretty much makes us responsible for just about everything, right? We get billed for everything, and it's always at the highest mark. Case in point, we spoke about just the rising cost of out-of-district tuition, and that those institutions they're not capped like we're capped. But it's the same tax dollars, right, that pay for them. They're not capped. Like, what are they doing about that? Transportation costs, we all thought post-COVID when they went up, when everybody settled, they were going to go back down, and they never did. Who's holding the bus contractors accountable? Certainly not state government. I mean, I could go on, but and then look at healthcare. 20-30% increases, and it's going to continue to increase. So the issue we're having a revenue problem, but it's only compounded by the fact that our expenses are just not only outpacing our ability to generate revenue locally, but it's by 4 or 5 times the rate of my ability to generate revenue. So the group is just kind of struggling with talking points to bring to lawmakers that won't have them shut down. You know what I mean? They don't, the governor was very clear she doesn't want to raise taxes. But then we need solutions. They just can't keep passing these costs on to school districts because it's getting harder and harder. And I said this last night also in Collingswood, we're morally and statutorily obligated to provide the services that come here, that wind up here, and when there's costs that are not attributed to anything we've done, but they're just getting passed on to us, and it's unfortunate, but that's kind of, some of the focus has to be at the state level. But I just, as it came up also last night in Collingswood, about, you need to plan. You need to plan longer than just 1 year, and I would love to. I've got revenue projections I can show people, but I could throw them away because they mean nothing, because the instability in our spending patterns in the state of New Jersey right now makes it really hard to plan beyond one budget year. And Jen knows, because I say it every time, I pass the budget and I pray between June and September, that nothing, crazy happens, that, my budget's not in jeopardy and we can provide what we've budgeted for. So that's my little soapbox. But again, any idea, I said I'll take any and all ideas, I bring them back to the group, but just acknowledging that we have an issue in New Jersey and they have to stop passing all these costs onto school districts and at a markup that we can't afford. That's kind of
Unfunded mandates, right?
Yeah.
I lied when I said that was my last thing. I do have one second last thing, and that was just the school choice. I did a little bit of research on that, and I think Oaklyn, this is all new to me, but maybe we have only 2 seats extra, I think, for school choice. I wasn't sure what Collingswood had, and I know that this Collingswood School Board talked about one of the things they want to start strategically planning for is like how can we recruit and retain students in that middle school to high school transition. So I wasn't sure if that was a thing we could, it's not going to
The state caps you in school choice too.
Yes,
So
yes.
both districts applied for school choice around the same time. Oakland's capped at 8 kids. I don't know why. We've got the seats, let's fill them. I don't know why. And Collingswood's capped at, I want to say 36. And Collingswood always has a waiting list. And they won't let me increase it. So we've got the willingness of other towns to send children to our 2 districts for the outstanding programming that's being provided, and I can't accept them.
So maybe that's added to our letter that we're sending to the...
Yeah, it makes
to
no
the
sense.
state.
If I've got the seats, why not? But, yeah, so.
Like Stacy, I lied. I have one more. So last night I was watching, and that's when I learned about the high school's computer science program being cut. Going forward in the future, could this board possibly receive updates about what's going to be cut in the high school and middle school that impacts Oakland students? Because, yeah, I learned about that last night from the public meeting.
So I want to make sure we're providing clarity, and so the program wasn't cut last night, the program wasn't offered this year, and so the program stopped functioning last year due to the fact that there were 12 students actually enrolled in the program, and the teacher left in the middle of the school year. I think that the challenge that we continue to have is that our high school, it's an extremely small high school. And historically, we have over-programmed for our high school. The budget, inflation, the operational cost, it's no longer sustainable. It was great when the resources were there. Making sure that your kids have multiple types of choices, that's a district's dream. We're no longer in that same financial space, and so what we tasked the administration at the high school to do is to analyze and assess what their students needed, what they wanted, what they desired. They participated in the course request process, and then based on the resources that were available, the school had to determine what they wanted to offer and what they didn't want to offer based on those resources. And computer science, based on enrollment, was not one of the options that they wanted to remain. They decided to keep other programs that had much higher levels of enrollment because they had to do some trade-offs. And so what we shared this time last year, because the same conversation came up about the business education program. And what we shared with students and with the community was that students had to exercise their wants with their requests. And as a result, 100 students signed up for the business education program. And what we see is the business education program is continuing to be offered based on the number of students that have applied. And so we're not saying that computer science is going away forever. What we are saying is that the programming, we still have the curriculum, but we didn't have the students available to be able to actually fill that and offer everything else that we offer. And then with the funding, we're talking about significant reductions to staffing in order to be able to maintain the integrity of the programs where students are actually seated in. And so the goal will be every year to assess and evaluate what students need, what they desire, what they want, and then try to make sure that those are the things that we're offering. But there are going to continually be some trade-offs, and it goes back to that cyclical conversation about the resources just aren't available given the way that the state is currently funding its schools. Add insult to injury locally, and so this is not Oaklyn's problem to deal with, but I just want to make sure that we're all being clear. The local fair share in Collingswood is $4.6 million per year short, which means that with our budget deficit being $3.3 million, if we were being fully funded locally, we would have no deficit. We would actually have surplus each and every year. There is currently no legal mechanism for us to be able to collect that gap of what the state is saying that is the local fair share. And so when we talk about the advocacy, every single district is going to need advocacy, but every single district is negatively impacted differently. And so I think that it's going to take all of us coming together and pushing for the types of change and the flexibility needed for each school district to be able to navigate a very challenging financial environment based on their own specific needs. But in Collingswood, we have a very different problem than what we have here in Oaklyn.
Thank you. Could the board just like possibly be sent like maybe like the courses that are going to be like excluded from the middle and high school that are going to impact Oaklyn students, or no?
So the program of study is approved every single year. It's live. It's on the district website. We can send you a copy of the 26-27 program of study, and then we can also send you a copy of the 25-26. So we can do that.
And then just following up on what you were talking about, I thought in terms of the public comments, somebody, like one of the people came up and said that they completely understand. They went to a big school like Shawnee. They had this robust program. We just can't offer those kind of things. Haddonfield does not have a TV production program. Collingswood does. That's kind of further pushes our need for that larger regionalization discussion. But there was also talk of, there just seemed to be some discrepancy between what, like, I had two questions. When you say they chose to get rid of computer science, who is the they? And could you speak to the discrepancy between what the counselors were saying was the enrollment or the wait list in computer science, and how there seems to have been a disconnect between how the kids were expressing desire, how they had wait lists for computer science, and maybe it wasn't enough to balance out some other programs. But
so there's a big difference between course requests and actual programming. And so every year, every school is tasked with the same responsibility. Request what you need. And we input all of that into the budget system. It gives us a total value based on what's being requested, and then we wait. We wait for state and local funding to come in so that we can appropriately assess where we are, and then we go back to each individual school and ask for them to make adjustments based on those numbers. And so no different than what we asked Ms. Bolden and Ms. Soloway to do, which is to assess their needs, identify what your needs are. In Oaklyn, our leaders, they take it a step further. They do a good, better, best, because they understand, because we've had numerous conversations about the fluctuations and the volatility of the budget. And so they give us what is an absolute necessity to be able to move forward and meet the needs of students. They give us that next level, which is with appropriate funding, this is how we would invest those dollars. And then they add that third level, is that if we, for some reason, get additional funds, these are areas that would also be helpful in order to maximize the learning experience for our students. And so the middle school and the high school is no different. And so when given the opportunity of weighing all of the programs that they offer and don't offer, the local administration, they make decisions on which programs stay, which programs go, based on data collected from the course request process. So what the counseling department was talking about are course requests, Every single year in October and November, we go to the head of the counseling department and get an enrollment report. And so we plan for certain things, but, you know, it starts as a plan in September, but by November, late October, November, that's really where your budget starts to manifest and you really get into a swing of things by the end of the first marking period. And what we found was that there were discrepancies in what we thought we were going to offer and where students actually landed. And so when we start programming for the budget or start planning for the budget, we take where students actually ended up. We go back to our schools and say, you planned for this is not where students are, that needs to be reflected within your budget request that they don't submit to us until December. And so based on the anticipated reductions last year, there were decisions that they made about programs that they wanted to keep and programs that if they needed to be reductions, those were the ones that would be reduced because there weren't actual, what we call rear ends in seats. Whereas there were other places that were oversubscribed. And so, for example, 2 years ago, we had an overabundance of students that were requesting art. We brought in a part-time art teacher that has since been made full-time because we were oversubscribed in the areas of art. We have a robust music program. Schools of our size do not have the types of performing arts programs that we have. They don't have television production programs and film studios like we have. They don't have engineering programs, and so we've got a lot of really good programs, but we're still a teeny tiny school and we can't offer everything.
Would you say that staffing a computer science program, is that a position that is hard to fill? Like, are there a lot of applicants for that type of job, or no?
We originally posted for the position. It was difficult to fill. The individual that replaced the exiting teacher had a PhD in the area, left us to go to higher ed, wanted to teach at the college level, and we were unable to fill the position. It was also undersubscribed, and so that was one of the reductions that administration made in order to save in other areas. So.
Can I go back to the advocacy stuff that we were talking about with the Fair Funding Collective? I know Teresa's talked a lot about this, and I know you've been going to the meetings, Beth Ann, and you were talking about the talking points, and obviously the districts have different needs. Who's spearheading, or like who's going to Trenton? You know what I mean? Like, I know that this organization exists, and you know, you might be informing, like, this is what Oakland's needs are, and this is also what Collingswood's needs are, but in terms of actually going and advocating and talking to legislators, like, what is that process looking like? Because it sounds like at the local level, we're doing everything we possibly can, right? Like, we're talking about, right now, a computer programming class, right? Like, it's like, we can't get any more bare bones. Like, we're doing the best that we can. So that just leads me to think, like, what does that look like, and what process does that look like, and what part can we play to be a part of that? Not just the conversations, but the actual, like, hey, this is what we're facing in all these small communities. Let's look at the 2%. Like, what does that process look like?
Kelly, could I
Piggyback, sorry, just because it'll probably affect how you answer. I was also hoping that we could formalize how our board works in this. Like, maybe we're making our committee meetings more than 30 minutes. I'm going to strongly suggest that, because we're always looking at what, to Aiden's point, what's right in front of us. And I think we need to talk about formalizing. I mean, you've got somebody who works in fundraising. You've got, I mean, we've never talked about grant opportunities, corporate sponsors, things like that. There's talent at this table. This is our responsibility. So I completely agree with you, and I'd like to see a more formalized time to have these discussions.
Would that be could we have I don't know how you would do it. Could you join with Collingswood and have like a joint, or it would have to be us only to have that discussion?
I mean, I think if we start here and we add, I don't know, I mean, I'm spitballing, so, but if we add this as a standing agenda item for all of our committee meetings, and we're saying what's the latest, you know, what's the next time the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective is meeting? Is there something happening in Trenton? Because we're all, I mean, we don't get paid big bucks for these jobs, and we all have a million other jobs. You do, but, you know, we've got kids, responsibilities, school, you know, what have you. I just would like to see, I feel like things don't get done unless we actually have them have it on an agenda and we're actually staring it in the face.
And just to piggyback off Therese, if I may, I mean, just in the work that I do in nonprofit, there's just so many foundations, and we should be looking at other sources of revenue. Like when we talk about, you know, the title, like the money that's coming from the feds and the loss of this wellness, like that's an administrative budget item that they just slash, right? So like, how can we be more creative in looking for other resources to perhaps fund curriculum or, you know, a piece of the budget? Even if it's piecemeal, it's better than nothing.
I saw an article, like a California town faced like a $3 billion deficit, and they did this very huge fundraising push that was really very tangible, like this much money will save a teacher, this much money will fund the STEM, you know, the camp, and they met their goal. Now, you know, Collingswood's demographic, I feel, is changing. There are some people who still are going to struggle with any sort of referendum tax raise, but there are some people that might have money to donate. So like to have, using your expertise, you know, and thinking about how can, you know, if the community wants certain things, how could they help fund it? Just even if it's a stopgap until we can get this state reform, because ideally that's what ultimately needs to happen. But what do we do between now and then is kind of the question.
Sorry, and just to, I'm going to try to remember the question. So we got an email, I guess those who joined originally, I think we all got an email from Kelly Hinkle, the board president in Haddon Township. She's the spearheader of this group. She goes to Trenton. She went last year. I believe she's scheduled to go this year and testify, which is, I think, why like we were kind of meeting and trying to come up with like things that we could bring. But anybody could sign up and go. I think she did send an email out with a link.
Did she testify this week? They're doing the hearings today and tomorrow.
I think she's going tomorrow. But she does go regularly. But again, anybody can sign up and go. And whenever I do see that link from Kelly, I can send it to the board. I think last year, Trish, you went, right? Who went?
I did.
Who went? Oh, Denise went. Somebody went. We had one from Roger from Collingswood, and he went from...
The last time you said somebody.
It was Denise. Denise and Jimmy went last time, and Roger Chu went from Collingswood last time. So, and Sarah Sherman. So we did have board members participate in that. But at least right in our little group, Kelly, the board president in Haddon Township, is like spearheading that. But yeah, the more voices, the better. Sometimes I feel on a statewide level, South Jersey gets kind of like forgotten.
They
You know?
have a delegation from the fair.
Okay, because I think when you do testifying, like today, it's like, we're doing it at work. So today was the assembly, I think tomorrow's the Senate, and they only give you a brief amount of time, but I don't mean just testifying because you're sitting there with 70 other people, 80 other people giving your 2-minute spiel, but like how are, you know, are people going to talk to legislators and saying, hey, this is what's going on, not just the 2-minute spiel that I'm going to read on a Zoom as my test, like, and that's important too, because it's the budget, right? Like, they're going to do what they're going to do, but I'm just, is there a concerted effort in that regard that you guys are aware of?
Yes. At today's meeting, Kelly was saying she's trying to get a group together to, again, we spoke with Lou Greenwald 2 Fridays ago. Rich was there. He wants a smaller group, again, because we were a large group, a smaller group to come to his office. So Kelly's trying to come up with some dates to meet with Lou Greenwald's office. And then in the meantime, I guess they redistricted, is that a word? Redistricted who our assembly people are. You're nodding. So Collingswood and Oaklyn used to always have Lou Greenwald. Now Oaklyn has Lou Greenwald. Collingswood has Moen, Spearman, and there's a third one. It's a lady. No, Lampett's now the county clerk.
Kane? No.
Anyway, we have 3 different people in Collingswood. So Nilsson. So the chief of staff for that group has reached out to me and asked if I would, we'd be willing to meet with them. So of course I said yes. They said they were going to check calendars and get back. But yeah, any opportunity I have to get in front of somebody and speak plainly about how their decisions are affecting us, I absolutely do it. But yeah, again, we had one with Lou Greenwald. There's at least another one being scheduled, and I don't have a date for the other one. But when I do, I'll find out how many people they will let me bring.
And
then,
can we
yeah.
just bring letters for
Yeah,
anybody?
I mean, yeah, so, okay. I know, I know.
Just a quick point. As Beth Ann mentioned, we were able to meet with Assemblyman Greenwald a couple weeks ago. It was a lengthy meeting. It was, just shy of 3 hours. He was late for his next appointment as a result, but he was, you're right, yeah. I just can't stress enough for the community to be involved, look for information that Dr. McDowell mentioned that will be coming out. If you go to njffc.org is the website for the New Jersey Fair Funding Collective, where all the information is regularly posted. Despite the length of the meeting, there were really just two main takeaways for me that I gleaned from what was shared. One being, they're really looking to put all their eggs in the consolidation basket. We've had some discussions about this as a board. The way the current process would work, there's not a whole lot for Oaklyn to be gained. We talked about that last month. That said, they're more than willing to throw out the rule book and, look at consolidation through a different lens. But that said, that's not a short game. That's the long game. So it'll easily be a decade before that would even gain any traction, in my opinion. So that's kind of where they're putting their eggs. You did express.
And they also need to, I didn't mean to interrupt, but as my father says, stop talking while I'm interrupting. They need to, and I expressed this to Assemblyman Greenwald, is they want to do it, but they don't make it easy for us, I think was my comment. And it was not so much with the consolidation, but the regionalization studies. He wasn't even aware that an application had come out from the Department of Community Affairs. And I said, well, it came out at the end of January, and it was due April 15th. Like, do you know what's going on in schools between February 1st and April 15th? Like, we're trying to do our budgets, and it's a lot of paperwork. I got to get a bunch of boards together, and we got to talk, and we got to vote, and we got to plan, and we got to get a feasibility study. Like, that's not happening in 3 months. So I had mentioned, I commented, like, you need to work with us and make it work with our timeline. Like, if you want us to do something, the application has to come out at least a year in advance, because it's a lot of people, and I have to advertise meetings. It's just throwing an application out on the street, that doesn't really work. You have to, it has to work within our timeline. Just like, our fiscal years don't line up. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we all just operated under the same premises? So I didn't mean to interrupt, but, that seems to be a lot of the hang-up is, they want to do stuff, but it's almost like put your money where your mouth is, work with us, come up with an application and a timeline that actually works for school districts, and you'll get more people to at least participate in a study. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The only other piece, as I said, the regionalization would be the long game, I guess, as far as the state's concerned. And admittedly, Assemblyman Greenwald had no short-term plan. So I think that's why it's so important for us to be involved and kind of keep the pressure on. I will say that the document you put together, it was really good. It was concise. It was specific. So hopefully that, more movement like that will help to gain some traction. And on that note, we have our one last announcement, then we'll close out committee of the whole, I guess. Our community roundtables are coming up. March 31st will be our next one for Community Relations and Policy Committee, so we'd like to invite everybody out to the Senior Center for a roundtable. I'm sure this budget and funding would play into that as well in terms of community relations and how we spread the word. And then our curriculum and instruction roundtable will be May 18th, so just a little infomercial for that. Any other points for committee of the whole? All right. right, motion to close?
So moved.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to item 5, we have our future dates. Coming up on April 3rd, we have spring break, or 3rd through the 10th, coming up, right around the corner. April 12th, in honor of my birthday, is the Oaklyn PTA Phillies game. April 14th, the PTA meeting. That is in the library. April 17th is the PTA Family Fun Night, and April 30th is our next board meeting. Moving on to item 6, we have approval of our minutes from February 19th. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion passes. Moving on to item 7, this is our first public comment section of the evening. Community is reminded to please stand, state your name and address, keep the comments to 5 minutes or less. The purpose for this first public comment section is to discuss items listed on the agenda. Additional, more general comments will be made later in the meeting. The public's reminded that any attempts to resolve all concerns and complaints should first go through the appropriate staff or administrators. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. All right.
Okay.
Moving on to item 8, the superintendent's report. Dr. McDowell.
So good evening again. Just wanted to just congratulate again our Hawk Heroes for this month, being celebrated for empathy. We'll be sending out kudos to our wonderful students later this week. Section 8.01 is the enrollment report. February 2025 enrollment was 270. February 2026 is 273, and that is attached. 8.02 and 8.03 is the safety drill and suspension report, also attached. Just have a few comments or announcements that we wanted to share. Included tonight in this meeting will be a discussion that you will hear about the academic calendar. And so just wanted to make sure that as a reminder, the graduation ceremony for the class of 2026 will remain on Thursday, June 18th, with project graduation to follow. We wanted to limit the disruption to families who have already been very active in planning and travel. Even though the last day of school will be slightly modified, we did not want to disrupt senior activities or the graduation ceremony for families. We'd like to acknowledge Read Across America Week. So last week, our students had a wonderful time celebrating their Read Across America. They enjoyed listening to a variety of engaging stories by guest readers. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to our senior leaders who took the time to come and visit and read to our students. We'd also like to thank our PTA for sponsoring a readathon this month, and rewards will be provided later this month based on the homeroom classes that have read the most. And so our senior leaders, specifically our Oaklyn senior leaders, they had to go through a rigorous interview and application process. And so the Senior Leaders is a program for the best and brightest on campus to demonstrate campus leadership. Each of our senior leaders, they also participate in passion projects, something to be able to help either their school or their local communities. And so we're extremely proud of what our senior leaders do. It's about 25 young people between Collingswood, Oaklyn, and Woodland, and they're doing some really amazing things this year, and so we wanted to acknowledge and thank them for that. Last week, we also celebrated neurodiversity. This is our 4th annual district-wide celebration of brain differences that provided us opportunities to not only discuss different minds, but also disabilities in a strength-based, inclusive manner. And so we are proud of the continual progress of our district over the last several years that they've made in inclusive practices. And we appreciate our community's support as we celebrate the diverse minds within our community. And so ultimately, the goals of Neurodiversity Celebration Week are to increase awareness about brain differences in schools and the community, share information about the different neurotypes, such as autism, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, and so forth, but in an asset-based or a strength-based way. Learn how we can support and accommodate students with differences within our communities, and then ultimately celebrate as being part of a world that values all of the different minds. And so schools were provided, by grade level, were provided daily themes and classroom activities where they took time in order to not only learn something new, but also have meaningful discussion about how we're going to support and celebrate each other. And so we would just like to publicly thank the Collingswood and Oaklyn CPAG, as well as our special services team for their continued leadership in this area. We'd be remiss in also not acknowledging that in Collingswood and Oaklyn and Woodland, we have extremely talented student performers. This past weekend, they performed Mamma Mia. It was a phenomenal display of artistic expertise, of camaraderie, and so we just would like to congratulate the casts of Mamma Mia and thank them publicly for another outstanding season of performances. And then finally, we just wanted to give a continued plug to our Panther Pantry. This is led by students and staff at our middle school campus. And so the mission of the food pantry is to provide individual students and families in Collingswood, Oaklyn, and Woodland with supplemental nutritional support, supplies in a welcoming, cheerful, confidential, and non-judgmental manner. And so we support this mission through generous donations from teachers and staff and community members. You can donate non-perishable items or hygiene products here in Oaklyn or at the police department throughout the year, and also at Collingswood Board of Education meetings in the high school cafeteria. And so we'll be sending out the contact information for Ms. Niesner to continue providing support, and all of the proceeds go directly to families in need. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McDowell. Moving on to item 9, we have our Business Administrator Board Secretary report.
Okay, item 9.01 is a listing of your February 2026 budget transfers. 9.02 is your Board Secretary Treasurer's report. 9.03 is a listing of the purchase orders for the month of March. 9.04 is a listing of the warrants to be paid tomorrow morning pending approval tonight. Would you like me to keep going into section 10? I know you're a chairperson. I can keep going. Okay. Items 10.01 through 10.06 are those items that I just mentioned, basically your financial statements and your bills. 10.07 is the approval of the budget submission to the Camden County Office of Education for review and approval. 10.08 is approving your preschool budget submission to the New Jersey Department of Education Office of Early Childhood for review and approval. This next item is a resolution declaring our locations for our public notices. There's been a change in state law. We now have to have hyperlinks on our website to announce all of our resolutions and board meeting dates and anything important. We also have to hyperlink to our school district website to a state site. So it's just letting you know that this is happening and we will be compliant with state law. So when I go to advertise the budget, usually back in the day, it used to be in the paper, a little shrunk up little copy version of your budget. It'll now be on our website. Item 10.10 is our reapproval or annual approval of the real-time information system. And this is for the child study team for the IEPs. It's the IEP system. 10.11 is Camden County Tech School tuition agreement for next school year. Items 10.12 are 10.12 through 10.20 are all shared service agreements. Most of them, Collingswood to Oaklyn, 3 of them are where Collingswood actually pays Oaklyn. The last 3, Collingswood pays Oaklyn. And that's for the supervision and assistance with our preschool children that are in your building. And then items 10.21 and 10.22 are use of facilities. So items 10.01 through 10.22.
All right, do we have a motion to approve items 10.01 to 10.22? Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
I have a comment on just pointing out something we talked about with the use of facilities. There's a request on here that is not student-focused, so it's something to think about because they're paying the same amount of money as a very student-focused group, so.
All right, on a roll call.
Mrs. Downing?
Yes.
Mr. Deasy?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Genther?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to item 11, our Curriculum and Personnel Committee. Mr. DeMarco.
Good evening. We are seeking to approve item 11.01, which is a student-teacher observation placement. 11.02 to 11.03, there are no reports at this time. 11.04 is the approval of some field trips. 11.05 is the revised school calendar for this year. 11.06 is the upcoming school calendar approval. 11.07 is approving instructional assistance for a student in the district at no cost. 11.08 is the approval of paid medical leave. 11.09 is family leave of absence for an employee, and then we are seeking to approve items 11.01 to 11.09.
All right. Do we have a motion? Seconded. Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, on a roll call.
Mrs. Downing?
Yes.
Mr. Deasy?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Genther?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to item 12, School Community Relations and Policy Committee. Ms. Marmion.
Good evening. Item 12.01 is the report from the Collingswood Board of Education, but Mr. McMillan is not here tonight, so we'll table that to next month. Item 12.02 is the PTA liaison report. Mr. Deasy.
Of course, I couldn't find the paper from the meeting, but basically, for the PTA, they said that their enrollment is up on that, so they got more parents are getting involved, which is a good thing. That also, one of the big things we did, I mentioned to them, was to push for the fair funding to really get them involved in getting them sicking on the state to help us with closing those gaps and all. So they were very much happy to help with that.
Thank you. And just to add, there was a phenomenal performance from Oaklyn students on March 13th at the Oaklyn Talent Show. So just shout out to the PTA for supporting that event, and they did a great job. Item 12.03 is the OMASAC report. Mr. Genther.
I talked to Adam earlier today, wanted me to mention last gym night is this Friday if they can get enough chaperones, so if you're available and can chaperone. They submitted a grant for next year, and then they're reviewing applications for 2026 class for the OMASAC scholarship. So.
Thank you. Item 12.04 is the Oakland Education Foundation report. Mrs. Love.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Item 12.05, the HIB reports, there are none. Item 12.06, we have 5 policies up for a first reading. I thought we were going to table one of them. So should I just say that now that we're going to, your notes, Rich, had said that we were going to, 12:20?
Yeah, because Collingswood.
Yeah.
Well, we did, at Collingswood last night, they voted for option 1 as well, same as you, because I mentioned to them,
Right.
it would be, because together, you should have the same one. So they, in their first reading of 1220, they opted for the first option.
Okay, sorry for being cryptic.
You know what,
I'll
yeah,
go through this. Yeah, I just didn't want to get into it. So 0142.1 is a revised policy on nepotism. 1220 is the policy on employment of chief school administrator, and there were a couple of options, and because it's a shared service, we wanted to align with Collingswood. So since they were in agreement with the same option that we are. So what you see there is option 1 will be the option for the first reading. Remember, there will be a second reading next month. 1552 is a sexual harassment for staff. It's a new policy. 2535 is also a new policy on library materials. And 9130 is a revised policy on public complaints. There is no second reading for any policies and no regulation. So we are seeking approval for item 12.06.
All right, do we have a motion? Moved and seconded on a roll call.
Don't know that we have to vote on it, because it's not, it's just a first read, so no. Next month we'll vote.
All right, no vote there.
That's right. No, you're fine.
Moving on to item 13, miscellaneous. We have 13.01, which is approval of our state memorandum of agreement between education and law enforcement officials, which I signed last week. A lot of signatures on that bad boy. Yeah. And then 13.02 is our bus evacuation drill. So we're looking for approval of items 13.01 and 13.02. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, on a roll call.
Mrs. Downham?
Yes.
Mr. Deasy?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
Mr. Genther?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mrs. Marmion?
Yes.
Mr. Tavy?
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to our second public comment section of the night. This public comment section is for any items on the agenda or otherwise. Committee members are reminded to stand, state your name and address, keep the comments to 5 minutes or less. And the public's reminded to resolve all concerns and complaints should be first go through appropriate staff or administrators. Do you have any public comments? All right, hearing none, we're moving on to item 15, adjournment. Do we have a motion? And a second. Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. All right, have a great night, everyone.